I didn't know anything about Valentina.
Yeah.
And I was just looking at this trivia piece on IMDb.
Why? Spoilers.
Oh, okay, then I won't say it. I guess it's fun.
Is it her code name?
No.
Oh.
Oh, yes. Well, I saw that on Twitter earlier, so I already knew that anyway. No, it just says she's a sometimes lover of Nick Fury. I'm like,
oh, I did not know that.
Bring me Samuel L. Jackson and Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
You should just stay off Twitter on the Fridays that it comes out, so you won't have the spoilers. Because I blocked so many things.
What am I supposed to do at work all day?
I mean, I have an idea. Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We're on a time budget. Let's go. So she's walking down the hall, and I was like, this is ominous. I was like, I really don't think... And I even was like, this doesn't feel like not someone we've already seen.
Yeah.
And if so, not for a while. And it cut to her, and it took me a good 5 seconds.
To be like, oh.
Because, well, I obviously recognized her.
Yeah.
But I was like racking my brain, trying to be like, oh yeah, what character is she? And I was like, oh, this is new.
No, this is new. Brand new.
Which is not something that we get to experience a lot, and certainly not surprisingly.
Yeah.
As a surprise, it was delightful.
Fuck off.
So, yeah, I wanted to start off by saying that I don't have any sources that I can really cite for this. My sources are TikTok and YouTube, but I have figured out what I think my issue with the show is.
Okay.
Allegedly, and I believe this, there were rewrites. 11th hour rewrites, because one of the plots of this season was going to involve a global pandemic and a vaccine that was being mishandled. And that's...
Wink.
That explains the weird uncanny valley issue I was having, where I was like, they've explained the Flag Smashers 3 times, and I still have no idea what's happening.
Yeah.
All those things in the beginning when we first see Karli are vaccines. I think it even says vaccine.
Okay.
And her Mama Donnie or whatever. Danya. It wasn't tuberculosis. That's why all of that was ADR'd. She was like on the show and they cut her scenes. So it had to do with like equity and mishandling of like vaccine and like stuff.
Okay, look, I get that we are still in the middle of this pandemic and everything. Like, I can't raise my arm above my head because I got my first shot yesterday. But at the same time, I feel like that would have been better and more cohesive.
But they can't be endorsing conspiracy theories. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So
whatever.
I think that's why I was like, I believe that's what's been weird.
Sure, I get it, because I agree with you. I'm not having as bad a time with the Karli and the Flag Smasher stuff as you are, but I definitely agree that it is weird and slightly mishandled. Because like in this one, she just like keeps having all these really noble goals, and I'm like, okay, but you're still doing terrorism.
Well, so I was talking to Sade, our friend from Offscreen Babble.
Hi, Sade.
And she put into words what I couldn't, where she was like, what is her plan? She was like, we understand this part. We understand how we got to this point. And now she's going to kill everybody that came back from, like...
Because that's the thing. It was, like, almost misguided for them to show that, like, UN Council or whatever it was that was, like... We can't just...
Displacing 20 million? It's like...
well, because, like, the one guy was like, we can do it right now, I've got troops. And all of the women in the room were like, we don't have the resources, like, in place yet. We can't just move 20 million people. And that's the point where I'm like, these are clearly not all the bad guys. And now you're going to slaughter all of them in their workplace.
But they're not saying that. Well, sure. Yeah. Well, are they? I mean, I guess she is killing people, but it's like they're keeping the casualty. They're keeping the human casualties
very vague and off book. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, it works for when John Walker, decapitates some dude, which I really enjoyed this episode. It seems that I might have spoken a little too soon, because I was under the impression that we were going to follow the similar trajectory that WandaVision did, where each episode was going to get bigger and louder until like a big climax. And this episode picked right back up with the stuff I wanted, which was like character moments and advancing, plots and all that.
And I can't explain to you how much I would have watched 6+ episodes of Sam and Bucky fixing up the family shrimp boat.
Absolutely. Part of me is pining for that.
Yeah.
I was like, that's it. And they still...
I'm about to look for fan fiction, if I'm being honest.
They still drive me nuts with the, like...
Yeah.
You son of a bitch.
Like, it's still just... I forget what it's from. It's
Predator.
From Predator.
We'll say Predator, yeah.
Yeah, it's just too no homo. I get it, but it's like, I think it's...
Sam and Bucky need to say, I love you.
Well, they don't even need to say... yes, they do.
Then they need their own, I'm with you till the end of the line. They love each other. They're partners, and they have that whole speech about how, well, we're just two guys who were friends with a guy, and now we're just two guys. And I'm like, if
they want to do it
in arms
in front of Torres or Sarah or what have you, but there were too many scenes of them alone and it was like, and men don't...
Totally alone without any other presence being like, no homo, but I love you.
Well, and men don't do that. I mean, some men do, and more men should. Yeah. They need to. It's healthier. But I was like, we weren't even getting it like any intimate or physical bond had to be punctuated with an act of aggression, with like a slap or like a, I don't know. It's just...
I will say I did really enjoy...
But I loved it.
No, for sure. And I did really enjoy the scene where they were like essentially playing catch with each other with the shield. I mean... Are you kidding?
Because Will made a joke and he was like, seriously, we're just like playing catch, and you were like, they both need this.
They need to play catch with each other. Like they need
to get drunk on the dock.
Yeah, Bucky especially needs this kind of like father/brother figure in his life. He's been, and we don't really know about his home life before he and Steve both enlisted, but like
it looked perfect. So by all accounts,
well, but you know,
did we ever talk about? Wasn't she like his fiance? That girl. Wasn't it
John's fiance?
No, Bucky's.
No, they were just on a date.
Jenna Coleman. Yeah.
No, it was just a date.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't think she was his fiance. Or like we were robbed of more Jenna Coleman in this. They definitely both need this, and they definitely both need it with each other.
Well, because Sam had the line where he was like, at a certain point, you need to figure out who you are. You can't keep letting people tell you who you are.
100%. But I think that goes the same for Sam, which is why... You know, Sarah had that tough love moment with him where she was like, are you really going to let this Isaiah Bradley guy tell you who you are?
I think that's a Sarah special. I think that there's a lot of that where...
I really like Sarah. The more we see of her, the more I like her. And her and Sam stuff is really good. And she and Bucky were like really making eyes at each other, and I enjoyed that too.
I'm Bucky.
Sarah.
I really, really, really dug the emotional beats in this. And then if you are right about this meaning to have been about a pandemic in the first place,
or at least playing a role, I think it was.
Yeah, then I'm a little like they did a sloppy job of rewriting it, if that's true.
I mean, I think they just kind of ignored it and cut anything that didn't work. And again, that's why like this whole tuberculosis thing was like, I mean, we accepted it. Because there's even a line in like the second episode where the Flag Smashers are coming into like a safe house, and the guy is like, don't worry, everything's clean. My wife like made sure. And it was one of those like, it felt very tidy and swept. And so I don't know, but I'm almost at the place where I'm fine at this point, like, and allowing anything that felt weird to just write it off as being rewrites.
Yeah, sure.
Because there was something that wasn't and still is not clicking, but
it's just not my favorite, especially when we got that scene with the council, because it seemed like the one guy on the council was like, just move them. And I was like, well, you're the bad guy, obviously. But the rest of them were like, we're not equipped for this. We need more time. Mm-hmm. And I feel like we need more time is not the same as go back where you came from kind of thing. And so now I'm just like, I don't know. She's very gleeful about it. Karli's very gleeful about it.
She's leaning in a weird thing. Yeah. So what the fuck is with Sharon? What is happening? Is she the broker or whatever?
Well, Will thinks that Val is the power broker.
So we didn't finish that either. Apparently, Julia Louis-Dreyfus is a character called the Contessa Valentina. There was more.
Allegra de Fontaine.
I think she's going to be in Black Widow. I think she's going to be a thing. I think she's a presence in Phase 4.
That would be fun.
She had a blue streak.
She did. It was very cool.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus is perfect for something like this.
100%.
Because she has the dramatic chops, but she has this is Cate Blanchett hella. I'm gonna call it right now. And mild spoilers, I guess. This is just for the comics and stuff. I don't know anything about it. It's just things I've read. But one of her aliases or code names or whatever is Madam Hydra.
That was trending earlier. Yeah.
So I'm thrilled. I'm excited with that.
Also, not for nothing, but do you remember that Amy Schumer skit she was in called The Last Fuckable Day?
Believe me, no one was more surprised than me that they let me stay fuckable throughout my 40s. And the fact that it continued into my 50s. This was just like, thanks, but I thought that Us Weekly had made some sort of a clerical error or something.
She could still get it.
Sharon was talking to Batroc, the French guy. And she was like, I mean, they were showing pain. I still don't know what her deal is. And apparently Sharon also blipped, which feels extra wrong. They showed her picture on the wall in Endgame.
That's right.
But it's just so much easier to imagine her at this place if she was pirating for 5 years.
I was gonna say, she set up this fucking enterprise in a
6
year.
months. I from where I'm at now until they give me more, I'm choosing to ignore a lot of things.
Sure, that's
I'm
fine.
just sort of like, I don't like that, so I'm going to pretend it's not happening.
Maybe it was like just for dramatic effect for Steve that like Sharon blipped or whatever, but yeah, okay.
What they've established, it makes way more sense that she got to this place.
Yeah.
In
after having been burned by the U.S. government.
And half the population disappears.
She was like, I'm fucking off to this place. Yeah. I'm more
Southeast Asian Sea. Yeah.
I'm more in that.
But no, she was the liaison between Karli and we still mentioned she was talking to some woman in a car that you didn't see the woman's face. But
yeah.
I mean, something's happening. I don't remember what the broker is other than that someone is the broker. And it's not that woman that had the white hair.
No, that was Selby. Yeah, I don't know. I'm interested. That's the other thing is I feel like either some of this is going to carry over into future movies or it's going to be like WandaVision and we're just not going to get the answers.
Well, I think WandaVision's going to as well. I'm like...
Yeah. Because we know it's not going to really filter over into Black Widow because that takes place in the past.
Well, again, I mean, I think some of this will.
Well, some of it, but it's like, it's not going to be linear in that way. This is because Black Widow takes place after Civil War. So it's like before all the rest of it. So
we also, I mean, we have no idea what Black Widow's about.
That's true.
We've seen, we're getting the kind of the Gone Girl treatment where we're getting the same footage over and over again. So I have no idea.
Probably all from the first 30 minutes.
So it seems we've tapped out Zemo. He was taken by the Wakandans and put in the raft.
But honestly, it's the best I could have hoped for Zemo going out of this show because I was really worried he was going to be killed. And I'm glad that he is put away somewhere where we can pick him up later. Just like he was when we picked him up in this show. He was put away in jail.
I made that comment, which was practically, a death wish. But I was like, as long as we have Anthony and Sebastian and Daniel and Emily, I was like, I mean, we can have this show. Cue the Will and Grace titles, And then I was kind of like, oh, well. No, they were doing a great job. And I do love the cast that, I actually have really enjoyed the show because I'm remembering Rhodey being in the first episode and Ao got a poster. It's like people know her name and
just nothing but smoke shows in the Dora Milaje that just like
the one that just had like straight face tattoos.
Yeah, wall to wall hot ladies.
So we have also, oh God, I loved picking up right where we left off with John. And I was kind of thrilled that we put that part of the story at least aside, if not away, and went straight into like Law and Order, Terrebonne Parish, or whatever the rest of this. It was just very sort of like there was a point where you're like, is this an episode of Baywatch? What is happening?
Well, the music was very.
Hey, Miss Patty, you remember my mom and dad?
Yes, I remember.
Hey, Mr. Falcon, what's happening with you?
I'm back in town for a minute. That's why I'm calling.
What you need?
Mr. Thoreau.
Lots of shots of like water lapping amongst the dock.
I thought I was watching
the sunset and or rise.
I thought I was watching Outer Banks again for a minute.
But again, I was relieved is not the word, but I liked what they were doing. I liked how they handled it. He
He really jumped.
Considering how much he was stressing, how their treatment of his character was stressing me out because I didn't think we were going to get to the right place. We did get to the right place.
We did. He really jumped off the deep end in a way that, like, was a little alarming to me.
I still think I'm slightly more sympathetic to his plight than most people are, and in which case I wish that maybe the show was a bit more.
So,
what was his name from the first season of The Punisher that I liked and you guys hated? And it was a similar thing where he was really screwed over by the military. Lewis, maybe?
I think oh, yes.
He was like really screwed over and like he was like hung up and left to dry. Sort
of, but he also would not get help.
And I feel like we're in a similar...
He refused help. Well, but the thing about John Walker is he doesn't think he needs help.
No, because he's Captain America.
I am Captain America.
Boy, howdy. I tell you. And lots of triggering things for me as a woman, and I'm sure many people as Black people. Why are you making me do this to you? Oh, God,
Well, and even the military, I mean, when they were having the...
Okay, that gave me so much of the end of I, Tonya, except for not sympathetic at all. But he was like, the most sympathetic he was when he was like, you made me this. I did everything for you.
And that's what I mean. Yeah, it's like he did everything right. And
I agree with that, but he did also still execute a person on the internet, essentially.
A terrorist, but...
Well,
that's frowned upon. I'm saying those are called war crimes.
Sure. He also, though, kept telling everybody that guy is the one who killed Lamar, and we're like, but he didn't. So, I don't know. I'm sympathetic to a point, but it's like he was getting off relatively easy for doing that crime.
They were like, sit down and shut up, and he was incapable.
Yeah.
And
I mean, you've given your whole life to it. You're getting dishonorably discharged. I understand you're going to be going through something, but like, you're not getting court-martialed and you're not going to prison.
So where I'm at, fans yelling at me for not getting it, I'm doing the same thing where it's like I'm filling in my own blanks. Where it's like I wish that they had treated him just slightly grayer than they did. I was enjoying that they acknowledged his wife again. I hope that we will at least see her again before he brutally murders her.
Yeah, right. Jesus, you know what's gonna happen. Good Lord.
I'm really sad to have lost Lamar. I kind of deep down had convinced myself that this episode was going to start. He was going to be like, what'd I miss? Oh.
I thought he was going to have taken the serum, or John was going to have secretly given him half the serum and he would have been okay or something. But yeah, I'm really bummed. But I will say, I think Lamar's sister clocked something about John when they were he went to visit Lamar's family. And she was looking at him and she was like, you're not 100%.
That felt deliberate. I mean, I guess we can pick that back up next week, especially if we're spending the next hour on these characters, then absolutely.
Yeah.
If we're spending the next hour on like an action set piece, then absolutely not. Like,
it's going to be at least partially an action set piece for sure. There's going to have to be a battle with Karli again. Yeah.
I'm really, really, really glad we picked up the Isaiah stuff again.
Oh man,
we hit it. But no, like I started to panic last week. I was like, they're not going to delve. And I mean, these aren't deep dives, but they have gone. They've gone deeper than I thought they were going to.
They will never let a black man be Captain America. And even if they did, no self-respecting black man would ever want to be.
Yeah.
And
I'm really glad
I'll give maybe not a round of applause, maybe like
golf clap. Yeah, I don't know. I'm really glad they brought it back to, I mean, it's just a tragedy. It's like awful. It's like it's very mirrors the Steve and Peggy thing a little bit, except for he was forcibly kept from his wife or girlfriend or whatever she was, but I don't know. It's really gross.
Well, and even just as we mentioned at the top, we're big Bucky fans. I was a casual Sam fan. I liked Sam Wilson a lot, actually, but I wasn't very personally invested in a way that I am now. I'm like, God damn it, he's
Yeah.
Captain America. I
Same.
want the doll. I want the t-shirt. I want to see the uniform. Like,
Well, and I think too,
yes, my captain. Like,
100%. And I think too, what was really important, and it felt a little bit shoehorned in, and like, you know, a little bit like we have to talk about this, and like the white guy has to say something. But I did really appreciate that Bucky was like, I don't think when Steve and I were discussing this that we could have ever understood what it meant for you, a black man, to have the shield. I do like that they addressed that. And then that Sam was like, but I'm gonna still try my own way. Because Isaiah was very like, you can't do that. Like, that they're never gonna let you do it. And I'm more of the mind where it's like,
I want a single tear
Yeah.
from Isaiah in the next episode.
I'm just like, someone's got to be the first one. And who is better than Sam? Nobody.
Ayo.
Missed. Well, sure. Fair enough. I am extremely pissed that we did not get a glimpse of the Wakandan wings.
We're gonna see him.
I know,
It's a full uniform.
Oh, it's a whole thing? I love it.
In the comics, I think it's like more blue and white. But
Nice.
it's like a thing. That's why they haven't released his doll yet.
Oh, okay.
Because I was like, I mean, I love me a Bucky doll, and I'm most likely gonna get it to here with fucking doll pre-orders. Let me tell you, there's one you don't know about yet.
We are rapidly running out of time.
We are.
But the last thing I wanted to say is a lot of people were very up in arms about the 5-point palm exploding arm technique last week.
Well, she said something. My mom told me what it was, and I forgot what it was, but it was savage.
Oh, was it?
She called him James. It was like, don't come back.
Oh.
And yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so that's why in this episode, when she was like, she called him White Wolf again, but she was like, maybe lay low for a little while.
Yeah, okay. That's fair. I saw so many people who were like, wow, the level of distrust from the Wakandans. And I was like, okay. I was like, first of all, he is a war criminal. Second of all, it didn't even really feel like distrust to me so much as like everything of that caliber needs a failsafe. You know what I mean?
And actually, also on that note, I didn't make the connection, but Bucky is still having the dreams.
Yeah.
And the fact that he is still having dreams means that Winter Soldier is in there somewhere.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the kind of thing that I don't know. Well, maybe.
I'm not sure that kind of thing ever totally.
That's what I
goes
mean.
away.
That feels really like Glinda Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
Like, in a way.
You wouldn't have believed me.
But no, I'm curious. I'm curious to see what comes from that.
Yeah,
so,
same.
I'm hoping. I had heard a rumor that Florence Pugh was going to be in this. I would love maybe to see her next week. We'll see.
That would be tight.
I'll be holding my breath.
Next episode, Will is dead.